Imagine attending the most exclusive, high-stakes dinner party in history. Now, erase the concept of human dignity. That's 39 AD Rome under Emperor Gaius Caesar, or Caligula. What if the most powerful man in the world didn't use armies to rule, but psychological terror and sexual humiliation? His 4-year reign wasn't an accident of insanity. It was a clinical, calculated blueprint for how to dismantle a society's elite using their own morality against them. This is the story of how Rome's golden boy became its darkest nightmare, turning pleasure into a precision weapon. Before we dive into this terrifying history, make sure to subscribe to see more deep dives like this, and let us know in the comments which city you're watching from. The moment Caligula seized power in 37 AD, the citizens saw a beloved military hero's son and expected a second Augustus. What they got was a masterclass in psychological vivisection. Chroniclers like Suetonius and Cassius Dio didn't record a madman's ravings. They documented a strategy. The goal: to systematically deconstruct the dignitas, honor, of the most influential men in the Republic. His campaign began with the very bedrock of Roman ethics: the family. Honor was dynastic, not personal. Caligula attacked this pillar by publicly staging an incestuous relationship with his sister, Drusilla. This wasn't a secret affair. It was theater. He paraded her at state banquets, openly fondling her, forcing the senators to endorse the perversion with their silence. After her death, he forced the Senate to declare her a goddess, compelling the world's elite to kneel before the partner in his sin, making them morally complicit. He erased his own family's honor, and now he was ready to seize theirs. The second, darker maneuver was the political castration of the Senate. The public degradation of a senator's wife, like the infamous state dinner inspection where a guest spouse was paraded and then critiqued publicly, was merely the opening act. His deepest shame weapon was the Imperial Palace brothel. He converted a wing of the sacred seat of Roman authority into a state-run bordello. The women, the freeborn wives and daughters of the Roman aristocracy. Caligula was not just a pimp. He was the meticulous accountant. Suetonius describes him as recording every transaction, transforming the act of lust into an administrative humiliation. He reduced the Roman elite to line items in his financial ledgers, a chilling ledger of their shame. His third tactic was the spectacle of impulse, making power pathologically random. The sudden, raw seizure of Livia or Stella from her own wedding to Gaius Piso, only to divorce and banish her the next day, was a brutal declaration. No vow, no bond, no private joy was safe from his momentary, fleeting desire. The fourth layer was the identity eraser. Caligula forced high-ranking senators and their wives into the gladiatorial arena. They weren't there to fight. They were compelled to perform humiliating sexual acts for the common, jeering crowd. To strip a figure of authority of their virtus, manly virtue, and reduce them to a debased performer was a fate considered worse than any swift execution. The fifth, most hidden tool was the political use of homosexual assault. Caligula targeted high-ranking consular senators, powerful older men, not for simple pleasure, but for complete degradation. In a society built on masculine honor, the act, followed by Caligula's public, graphic boasting, was a silent, personal terror that annihilated a rival's will. Finally, the tyrant challenged the gods themselves, launching his sixth layer: sacrilege. After proclaiming himself a deity, he sought the ultimate violation. The Vestal Virgins, Rome's living symbols of purity, sworn to lifelong chastity. By violating these priestesses, he wasn't just breaking vows. He was shattering the Roman soul, proving his dominance over the divine order. For 4 years, the terror held. But a regime built on relentless, petty humiliation will inevitably be undone by it. The end came not from a massive revolt, but from a small, personal insult. Caligula routinely mocked his own praetorian officer, Cassius Chaerea, for his high-pitched voice. This small, daily, agonizing indignity was the straw that broke the soldier's will. In January 41 AD, Chaerea and conspirators cornered the living god and stabbed him over 30 times. The man who institutionalized state prostitution and public sacrilege was brought down by an insult to his executioner. Now, fast forward just months. that same androgynous Syrian youth, draped in silk, enters Rome. The weary Roman legions, desperate for stability, have just handed him the world. They expected a new dynasty, they got a 4-year cultural revolution. This is the reign of Elagabalus, and it is not a tale of teenage frenzy. It is the calculated, theocratic, and sexual warfare waged on the very soul of the Roman identity. If Caligula used sadism to dominate the elite, Elagabalus used desecration to erase them. Senator Cassius Dio's eyewitness account is not a catalogue of impulse. It is the blueprint for a systematic annihilation of Roman tradition. This was a war against the empire's core values, fought with the weapons of religious sacrilege and pathological self-definition. The first front was the erasure of Roman vitality. To the Romans, masculine virtue was the bedrock of the empire, and the emperor was its ultimate symbol. Elagabalus utterly annihilated this. He didn't merely use a brothel as his predecessor did. He became the brothel. The emperor, father of the country, pater patri, painted his eyes, wore wigs, and stood soliciting customers in the doorways of the Imperial Palace. He would negotiate his price and boast of his earnings. This wasn't simple lust. It was a performance of psychological castration, forcing all of Rome into the role of a client participating in their own humiliation. The second layer was the erasure of gender, a direct assault on the political power structure. Elagabalus publicly took a slave charioteer, Hierocles, as his husband, and referred to this slave as his master. In the rigid Roman hierarchy, this was the ultimate, horrifying reversal. The supreme commander willingly, performatively became the ancilla, slave girl. He even reportedly offered vast wealth to anyone who could surgically give him female genitalia. The purpose was clear: to prove he was above Roman definitions of power, above gender, showing the world that their master was his slave. The final, inevitable act was the erasure of the gods. Caligula merely challenged the divine. Elagabalus sought to replace it. He brought his Syrian sun deity, Elagabal, to Rome and declared him the new supreme god above Jupiter. Then came the terrifying sacrilege. He entered the sacred, forbidden temple of Vesta and stole the Palladium, Rome's most ancient holy object. He then declared a divine marriage, forcibly marrying his sun god to Vesta, the symbol of Roman purity. By symbolically defiling Rome's purest idol, he declared Roman tradition consumed, replaced by his own perverse divine order. Do you think Rome could have survived this? Or was it doomed from the moment Elagabalus took the throne? Hit the like button if this is the most shocking history you've ever heard. The climax was an extermination. Driven to a breaking point by the daily cultural desecrations, the Praetorian Guard finally revolted. They hunted the 18-year-old emperor through the palace until he was found in a latrine, clinging to his mother. The Sun King was dragged from a toilet and killed with her. Their bodies were dragged through Rome, and Elagabalus, the body that had defiled the palace and the gods, was thrown into the Tiber. The city he tried to erase ultimately purged him with its own river. The story of Elagabalus is an enduring, chilling warning. Caligula shows the terror of absolute power's cruelty. Elagabalus shows us the terrifying fragility of culture. He proves that a society's most sacred traditions can be annihilated, not by an invading army, but by a single pathological will at its center. It forces us to ask, how much of our own identity is truly solid, and how much is just a shared, fragile story that one divine narcissist could rewrite? If you believe this hidden history is worth telling, subscribe to the stories you were never meant to hear. Ring that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into history's most terrifying figures.